For a free, independent Soviet Ukraine. For a free, independent Soviet Ukraine. This means that sections of the Ukrainian people have become so much small change for the Kremlin in its international calculations. The Fourth International must clearly understand the enormous importance of the Ukrainian question and the fate not only of southeastern and eastern Europe, but also of Europe as a whole. We are dealing with a people that has proved its viability, that is numerically equal to the population of France and occupies an exceptionally rich territory, which moreover is of the highest strategical importance. The question of the fate of the Ukraine has been posed in its full scope. A clear and definite slogan is necessary that corresponds to the new situation. In my opinion, there could be at the present time only one such slogan: a united, free, and independent workers and peasants Soviet Ukraine. This program is in irreconcilable contradiction, first of all, with the interest of the three imperial powers, Poland, Romania, and Hungary. Only hopeless pacifist blockheads are capable of thinking that the emancipation and unification of the Ukraine can be achieved by peaceful diplomatic means, by referendums, by decisions of the League of Nations, etc. In no way superior to them, of course, are those nationalists who propose to solve the Ukrainian question by entering the service of one imperialism against the other. Hitler gave an invaluable lesson to those adventurers by tossing, for how long, Carpatho-Ukraine to the Hungarians, who immediately slaughtered not a few trusting Ukrainians. In so far as the issue depends upon the military strength of the imperialist states, the victory of one grouping or another can signify only a new dismemberment and a still more brutal subjugation of the Ukrainian people. The program of independence for the Ukraine and the epic of imperialism is directly and indissolubly bound up with the program of the proletarian revolution. It would be criminal to entertain any illusions on this score. Soviet Constitution admits a right of self-determination. But the independence of a united Ukraine would mean the separation of Soviet Ukraine from the USSR. The friends of the Kremlin will exclaim in chorus. What's so terrible about that? We reply, the fervid worship of state boundaries is alien to us. We do not hold the position of a united and indivisible whole. After all, even the Constitution of the USSR acknowledges the right of its component federated peoples to self-determination, that is, to separation. Thus, not even the incumbent Kremlin oligarchy dares to deny this principle. To be sure, it remains only on paper. The slightest attempt to raise the question of an independent Ukraine openly would mean immediate execution on the charge of treason. But it is precisely this despicable equivocation, it is precisely this ruthless hounding of all free national thought that has led the toiling masses of the Ukraine, to an even greater degree than the masses of Great Russia, to look upon the rule of the Kremlin as monstrously oppressive. In the face of such an internal situation, it's naturally impossible even to talk of a Western Ukraine voluntarily joining the USSR as it is present constituted. Consequently, the unification of the Ukraine presupposes freeing the so-called Soviet Ukraine from the Stalinist boot. In this matter, too, the Bonapartist clique will reap what it has sown. But wouldn't this mean the military weakening of the USSR? The friends of the Kremlin will howl in horror. We reply that the weakening of the USSR is caused by those ever-growing centrifugal tendencies generated by the Bonapartist dictatorship. In the event of war, the hatred of the masses for the ruling clique can lead to the collapse of all the social conquest of October. The source of defeatist moods is in the Kremlin. An independent Soviet Ukraine, on the other hand, would become, if only by virtue of its own interest, a mighty southwestern bulwark of the USSR. The sooner the present Bonapartist caste is undermined, upset, crushed, and swept away, the firmer the defense of the Soviet Republic will become, the more certain its socialist future. So that's Leon Trotsky. So all these damn communists are sitting there, cheering Putin's bombing and all this shit. But Trotsky is in opposition. If you're a true, a Trotskyist, then you would sit there and be totally against Putin bombing the shit out of Ukraine. You want a Soviet Ukraine, an independent Ukraine, a Soviet independent Ukraine, a workers and peasant Soviet Ukraine. A united, free, and independent workers and peasants Soviet Ukraine. That is what Leon Trotsky is talking about. Now, Leon Trotsky, his father David Bronstein, was a farmer of the Russified Jewish background who had settled as a colonist in the steppe region. His mother Anna was of the educated middle class. He had an older brother and sister. Two other siblings died in infancy.